Hello and welcome to Cycles of Time, your weekly guide to what's happening on Earth as we make our revolutionary journey around the sun. For time immemorial, our human ancestors have created myths and meanings to help us adapt and thrive as seasons change. Join me each week to explore the intersections of these ancient cycles, from the indigenous medicine wheel to the pagan wheel of the year, the Babylonian and Greek zodiac to the I Ching, the ancient Chinese book of changes. I'm your host, Allison Dale, and this is the Cycles of Time podcast. Hey everybody, welcome to Pisces season. This is your weekly forecast for February 17th to 23rd, 2025. And this episode is called The Abundant Spirit of Pisces. We are entering the season of the two fishes that are connected together by a ribbon, swimming together in opposite directions within the primordial soup. So as we move out of a month of Aquarian passion and desire, an active weaving of interconnected parts, Pisces enters the stage along with the human design gate of abundance, which is known as the gate of spirit as well. Pisces season is a time of surrender and intuition and deep emotions and spiritual transformation. It is the last and final sign of the zodiac wheel that started back last March with Aries, and we've made our way through all of the different archetypes of the wheel, and here we are in this culmination. So Pisces represents both endings and preparation for new beginnings. Pisces is the embodiment of the entire rest of the wheel of the year. It includes elements from every other sign, and it's this culmination of the processes of life and death, growth and decay. I look at the wheel of the zodiac as the first 6 signs, Aries through Virgo, are stages of growth, and then Libra through Pisces are stages of decay and kind of coming back into the soil. And so Pisces is the rich, decadent, dank soil that is the culmination of all of that. It's this compost that's made of all the living beings from the past year and the past 10 years and the past 100 years and the past millennia. It's this ancestral composite, this merged energy of all of the things that have come before, and only within that type of rich soil can a new cycle begin. Pisces is a sign of absorption. It's a soil that can hold the waters of spring and provide the perfect conditions for the seeds of the new cycle to crack open and grow upward. Pisces is multitudes. It's always moving, and it represents quantum reality. So here we are. We made it through that longest month of January. It felt like about 2 years, and now February for me has gone by really fast. I've been traveling, but it's gone by quickly, and here we are, like in the end of the zodiac wheel. It feels trippy. It feels quantum. It feels like it's hard to make sense of things in a linear way right now. And that is a lot of what Pisces leans into as well, is this boundaryless kind of Neptunian confusion and imagination. But it's beautiful. It's beautiful. So happy Pisces season. In the I Ching and the Human Design Wheel of the Year, I always do the 6 gates, the 6 micro seasons of the zodiac season. And so I'll be posting about that, talking about that today. But basically, the story arc of Pisces takes us on a journey from a feeling of abundance and feeling filled with spirit, to harmony, looking at harmonious interactions, to doubt and using the process of knowing that you don't know exactly what is true in order to actually get the gist of what is true. Then we move to grace, then to crisis, and then we move into the last gate of Pisces season, which is innocence, and that is also the same gate that begins Aries season. Again, an astrological and ecological new beginning, and when the horned dicot sprouts of Aries, the ram, poke their heads up into the air with the quivering anticipation of a new cycle, innocence. So it's a beautiful story arc that will play out through the course of the next month and really dig into how these energies tell the tale of Pisces the fish in kind of nuanced ways. Pisces is a mutable water sign. It is the season of the year when we're most able to recognize the undeniable importance of interdependence and most able to see the truth that boundaries and barriers between us are no more than figments of our imagination. And that's not always true. At certain stages of the cycle, there are clearer and cleaner boundaries. But at this time, this liminal space between winter and spring, it does seem to be this really awareness, deep reckoning of the interdependence of the old with the new and with the dead with the living. It's only out of soil, which is not dead, it's alive, but it's the composite of a lot of leaves that have fallen and plants that have composted and living beings, bacteria, microbes, mycelium, and fungi, and ground up rock from all the erosion that happened over the course of the winter. It's this deep composite of all of the things that make up the conditions for a new life to be born. So I just love philosophically and feeling into my body that richness that is Pisces. And I kind of don't think it's talked about enough when we just think of fish, because fish are great, but it's really more about the substrate that they're swimming through and churning up, and it's this deep, watery absorbent soil. So at this stage, Pisces reveals this ever-moving, ever-changing primordial stew that we all arose out of and that new things will arise out of. And the truth itself, that the stew is composed of the memories and dreams and molecules of our ancestors, both human ancestors and animal ancestors and plant ancestors and spirit ancestors. And so it just feels like a time of year filled with memory and reverence for all that has come before. Over the past month, the archetype of Aquarius showed us the complex inner workings of the Saturnian structure that underlies a networked reality. Capricorn before that showed us about the structures of kind of mountain, monoliths, buildings, mountains, and then Aquarius shows about kind of how the subway systems work, how the economy works, how the different structures that uphold us are held together. And so they're both Saturnian, structured signs, Capricorn and Aquarius. And Aquarius is just about that, those networks. And Aquarius kind of shows us about the networked reality through helping us identify our personal needs and desires and boundaries. And that's kind of through the human design gates of contraction, wanting, and passion. Those are kind of personal gates that show us about things about our true nature of desires and looking inward to see what we want. And then there's a few other gates in Aquarius season, the gates of acceptance, listening, and revolution, that show us that our sovereign selves, our distinct individuality, is also part of a vast network of other sovereign selves. And so there's kind of a balance of gates within Aquarius season that showed us how to identify our own true desires and our true independent sovereignty with clarity so that we could be part of this larger network. That's really what I gleaned from Aquarius season this year. I'm really grateful for a lot of the downloads that came through. But we enter Pisces season after all of that, after that recognition of networked reality. And we enter in the gate of abundance with a much deeper understanding about how there is no real distinction between me and we. We've gone to great lengths to create a distinction so that we can know where our boundaries are, but also we've recognized that we're a part of it all, right? We're a participant observer. We're not just an observer of the whole thing. And so Pisces kind of shows us in a deeper way. It dissolves those boundaries and says, okay, now you got it. But also you can kind of put a little less structure around it and let it be the way that soil and water are. That you can't, it's like what was it in chemistry class, the difference between a mixture and a solution. It's like when you can take parts apart, and Pisces season tells us, okay, nope, it's not time for that. It's time to allow the merging to happen. So, the collective and the individual exist along a spectrum. And they're not as binary as they might have seemed back in Libra season, for example, where it was like, this is dead, this is alive, this is black, this is white, this is cold, this is hot. But now it's like, oh no, there's a spectrum, an ever-moving, ever-shifting spectrum between the individual and the collective and the plants and the soil. And so here we are. This week's highlights. We have Mars stationing direct in Cancer. That's my most exciting update of the week because, dang, Mars has been retrograde for so long now, and it has caused a lot of strife and anguish. So Mars is still a little bit uncomfortable in Cancer as he is a planet of action and assertion and aggression, and Cancer is more kind of ebbing and flowing nurturance, but moving direct back toward Leo and back around the wheel. It's a good kind of energy shift that's happening. Tuesday, Pisces season begins, and then Mars stations direct in Cancer on Sunday, February 23rd. So those are the major happenings of the week. And then the Human Design and I Ching Wheel of the Year brings us the end of the gate of passion on Monday and Tuesday. That was a beautiful conversation last week with Rose Blakelock talking about her sun gate in the gate of passion and the Aquarian Leo moon and a lot of beautiful fiery stuff. So you can listen to that if you want to learn a little more about the gate of passion. But for the majority of this week, Wednesday through Sunday, the sun is transiting into Pisces and gate 55, the gate of abundance or spirit. Our place in the Wheel of the Year is the medicine wheel direction east, the whooshing 5-element cycle element of wood, the pagan season of Imbolc, the zodiac season of Pisces now from February 18th to March 20th, when the spring equinox will arrive. And the moon phase is waning away from that full moon in Leo last week. And then, we're in Fire Over Fire, the Gate of Passion, Gate 30 from Monday and Tuesday. And then we move into Thunder Over Fire, known as Abundance, or the Gate of Spirit, Gate 55. So let's jump right into Gate 55. We're emerging out of Clinging Fire, Gate 30, the gate of passion and feelings. And we're emerging out of a long Aquarius season. And, Pluto's still in Aquarius. We'll still maintain some of these Aquarian themes and be deeply learning about them for a very long time. But for now, the sun is radiating its light into a new arena. And gate 55 in the I Ching is known as Feng, which also means abundance. And it is just really encapsulating the energy of abundance in all areas of life. It focuses on the emotional spectrum. Like I mentioned in the intro, it's really a deep realization in Pisces that there is a spectrum rather than a binary. That is the core thing, and that there's a interconnection that does not even recognize really all of the sums, all of the parts that are summed into a whole. It's just it's all the whole. And so there's a certain consciousness to that is, Pisces is the 12th house ruler in the astrological chart, and the 12th house is the house of spirituality and the house of the subconscious. It's kind of a place that is not easy to be seen in a clear light of day kind of way. It's like the deep dark before the dawn, where it's kind of a little bit imperceptible because it's so beyond individualistic identity. So in the gene keys, gene key 55 has a shadow of victimhood, where there's a sense of, because of that darkness and this dankness of the soil in the 12th house, there's a sense of helplessness that can lead to feelings of emotional depletion and emotional manipulation, or a sense of just overwhelm, being overwhelmed by the whole circumstances, like you're drowning in the ocean or you're like suffocating underground. It's there's a lot of emotionality here in Pisces season, and especially entering out of a fixed air sign into mutable water. It's quite a shocking transition after I've got it all. I've figured it out, how it's all interconnected, and I'm feeling my passion. I'm feeling ready to just keep burning through interests and desires. And then you kind of hit this abundant place, but it doesn't always necessarily feel like abundance, because there's a shift into whoa, I am really missing the boundariness of my individual self here in this energy. And so in the shadow of victimhood, gate 55 can show up as feeling trapped by our emotions, or trapped by the overwhelm of too much emotion or situations in life. So abundance is beautiful, but it's also just when there's too much, it can feel like too much. When we move into the gift frequency, it is freedom. And so victimhood and freedom, kind of two sides of the same coin, where you can, I like to do with the gene keys, is write the shadow on one side of a card and the gift on the other side, and kind of flip the script, literally put it on my altar and say victimhood. Am I feeling victimized right now? Am I feeling just deep in overwhelm and depletion? And kind of flipping that over and saying freedom. Okay. How is that a similar energy to victimhood, but just perceived in a different way? So it is, I do see freedom and victimhood as very much two sides of the same coin, because freedom is really emotional liberation, where you don't feel trapped underwater or trapped underground, but you recognize that you are part of the water and you are part of the soil. And in that is freedom. There's a liberation to being a part of something bigger, and not having to cling on to a specific identity. And so that's the type of freedom we're talking about here. It's an emotional maturity that is allowing your boundaries to soften, and allowing a certain empowerment through that softening, where you're not controlled by feelings of victimization or feelings of overwhelm, because of that recognition that you are an interconnected, integral part of the rest of it all, of all the things that feel overwhelming, and that because you're a part of it, your feelings matter to it. It's like knowing that we're a part of the earth, and not having the earth or the environment or nature be separate from humanity. When we say I am the earth, there's a much you can feel the pain of the earth a lot more, for example, and you can feel your own pain and know that they're interconnected, and that can lead to a triggering of action, and a triggering of understanding that what you do matters. So victimhood, freedom, some interesting things to contemplate this week. The city of this gate 55 is ecstasy, and it represents emotional transcendence and bliss, where you're in perfect harmony with the flow of the universe and experience joy and peace at a profound soul deep level. I don't know. I think of the fear of I'm talking a lot about soil with Pisces, this culmination of everything. And then I'm imagining my individual body, like under in the soil. And it feels terrifying at first, right? Like I'm like suffocating and I'm buried alive kind of vibes. Like it's scary. It can feel just, you like have a visual of that and it's like an instant fear of the worst possible thing. But there's a certain amount of like how relaxing is it to just really let the ground hold you when you really, really can surrender to that and feel that you are part of it all as well. So that is I can kind of just like, close my eyes and visualize and go from victimhood to freedom to ecstasy. This progression feels very like a very embodied type of experience for me right now. So yeah, pretty cool to do. What I love about the Gene Keys is you can look at these 3 different words. Sometimes I just put the city aside and say that it's always about transcending the moment, and like I'm not always about transcendence. I prefer immanence in my spiritual practice. Sometimes it's not all about like rising above. It's kind of like a shadow and gift are very much like felt sensations and emotions in the body that we have experienced without like transcending to a spiritualized state. And so sometimes just looking at the 2, victimhood and freedom, the 2 different words, and seeing how they interact with each other and what they bring up is really fascinating. So give it a try if you like, if you're into the Gene Keys or have the book or are listening to these episodes where I bring up the different levels, writing it on a piece of paper that you can flip between one and the other. I started this with my own Sun Gate 64, which is confusion, and the gift is imagination. And I really just love considering how confusion can transmute into imagination and back again. And they're 2 sides of this kind of figure 8 Mobius strip. Same with victimization and freedom. So check it out. Try it out. I also offer readings where we can dig into any one of your gates. I like to start with the sun because it's very important. And just kind of what's radiating onto you and out of you. But any of your planets, it's interesting to look into the depth of the season, from the physical season of the year to the zodiac sign to the human design and Gene Keys and I Ching interpretations, and just kind of look at the deep dive of a particular area of your chart. So you can find that by emailing me at allison@astrosomatics or booking on my website at astrosomatics.com. So let's move on a little bit to the I Ching description of hexagram 55. Basically, it is known as abundance as well, as same as the human design gate, so that hasn't changed much, but it does have a couple other names because the translation of abundance from the original text in Chinese to English might not include what was originally trying to be conveyed. The other names are abounding and expansion of awareness. So I feel like that really goes nicely with this theme of Pisces season and the great merging, the great kind of unity of all things. It's almost like we've been in Aquarius season creating these channels and networks, and then all of a sudden we are like, let me backtrack. I always like to backtrack a little bit, but I like thinking of Capricorn season as the sea goat climbing the mountain, and Aquarius season as like lifting up with our airship off of that mountain. And then Pisces season is like reaching outer space or reaching the ocean. Both the ocean and outer space, very similar kind of energy. But it's like that notion of being like in Aquarius season, like I have all the technology to reach these other mountains through like my helicopter. But then Pisces season, you kind of reach the nth degree of that technological advancement and you're like floating in space. And it's a whole different feeling than being in the gravitational realm. So that's kind of how I like to see it. So expansion of awareness, really great alternate name, but abundance is the most commonly used. And again, it's representing a moment of great opportunity and intensity, emphasizing the abundance and expansion of awareness that arises from a time of emotional growth, understanding, and releasing of old patterns. The message of hexagram 55 is that abundance doesn't come through force or striving, and it instead arises naturally when you let go of the need to control and you simply allow yourself to be present with the experiences and emotions of life. So there we are. For some reason, I keep thinking of Ground Control to Major Tom, the David Bowie song, which I taught my students when I lived in China. We went through all the lyrics, and it was pretty funny to bring those lyrics into a Chinese classroom. For some reason, I just felt compelled to do so. And so talking about the I Ching and Chinese language translation, it just made me think of it. And it's this floating in space kind of energy, and releasing control, surrendering to the abundance and the abounding potential of something so new, like Pisces season. It, in the I Ching, hexagram 55 is composed of the trigrams thunder over fire, and it suggests that periods of abundance require maturity and responsibility to truly embrace the fullness of life. So, you're floating in space. Make sure you have a helmet on. And it is a call to let go of self-imposed limitations and open up to the vast emotional and spiritual potential within. It gives the image, thunder over fire, to me, of lightning piercing through clouds, and kind of this thunder and fire are similar types of trigrams. There's a hot energy to them and a speed. And so it kind of shows how success or abundance can strike with incredible speed, and but similarly it can kind of be taken away with the same type of speed. So it's a reminder here to celebrate your achievements while also making prudent decisions for the future. And I feel like when I'm thinking about the abounding and expansion of awareness, there's an I Ching reference website that I like a lot that goes through a lot of different translations and interpretations, and it is James DeCorn's official website, known as the Gnostic Book of Changes. And that's jamesdecorn, KORNE.com, to find pretty in-depth kind of academic translations, commentary, notes, and paraphrases about each hexagram and line of the I Ching. So it goes really deep. But I was reading through it, and I really liked just a quote that he pulled when referring to how we might think about abundance as pretty financial or material usually in the Western world or in the English language. But he referenced a quote about Kundalini energy by Gopi Krishna to kind of bring in an awareness of this gate being about expansion of awareness in the translation of abundance. And it says, "Suddenly, with a roar like that of a waterfall, I felt a stream of liquid light entering my brain through the spinal cord. The illumination grew brighter and brighter, the roaring louder. I experienced a rocking sensation and then felt myself slipping out of my body, entirely enveloped in a halo of light. I was no longer myself, or to be more accurate, no longer as I knew myself to be, a small point of awareness confined in a body, but instead was a vast circle of consciousness in which the body was but a point, bathed in light, and in a state of exaltation and happiness impossible to describe." So, spirit, abundance, expansion of awareness. That again was Gopi Krishna from Kundalini, the evolutionary energy in man. And, there's a lot of drama that's happened within the Kundalini yoga community lately. So I'm not making any associations with that, but I love the description of that energy and that kind of transcendence from an embodied consciousness to a expansion that we are not confined by our boundaries that we thought we were confined by. So Pisces, 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 it just screams Pisces. And it's, totally, totally beautiful. I think that's all I have to say about I Ching 55. If it is your birthday this week or in Pisces season, I just wanted to wish you a happy birthday season. And if you have Gate 55 activated in your chart, or if your birthday is this week and you have Sun in Gate 55, I'd love to hear from you and how this is showing up. It's always really interesting to talk to listeners, talk to people who are interested in this material about having these activations in their chart. I do not have 55, but it's a really beautiful energy the more I contemplate it. So I'd love to hear from you if you have 55 active, just kind of some keynotes from your lived experience. Moving on from the human design and I Ching Wheel of the Year to the other kind of major event happening this week, Sunday, Mars stationing direct in Cancer. Mars has been retrograde in Cancer for a while now, and it's finally going direct, and I'm pretty stoked about that. A lot happened during Mars retrograde in both Leo and Cancer that felt really linked to it, really aligned, and I'm ready to release the baggage of what it brought up, and also take the lessons in and all of the reviewing and recalibrating that I did based on having this active planet in my first house and my 12th house going backwards. I'm really ready for this direct energy. I don't know about you. But basically this shift is going to bring emotional energy to the table. I think when we know its forward motion is beginning right when the sun is in Gate 55, this gate of abundance and spirit that I just talked about, which is all about emotional freedom and letting go of control and faith. So having that as an energy where the sun is when Mars is also stationing direct really gives a kind of combined energy and an opportunity to release old emotional baggage and step into our power. So this Sunday, this week, I think that, there's this potential to feel victimized and overwhelmed. And then there's the potential to feel like, okay, I just needed this little push into embracing and surrendering to this bigger energy than myself, to bigger changes than I thought I might experience in this lifetime. I know that's been really real for me, more than I want to even admit that, I kind of thought I knew how this life would go. So, I mean, it's hilarious to even say that, but I was like, oh yeah, I could see how I could live until my old age and just have the same kind of conditions present that I thought I was going to. But that's kind of ridiculous. And so this week for me, it's leaning into the abundance in the sense of expansion of awareness and having that Mars stationing direct after learning a lot about how I act and how I assert myself in the world, and really just bringing in this humility for myself and kind of a humbleness about I don't know what's going to happen. I don't have the rest of my life mapped out for me. And as scary as that can feel, as victimizing as that can feel, I can also really feel freedom. Okay, we have the opportunity here in this lifetime to make ourselves known, to not submit to limiting beliefs about how we thought things were. So that's how that's showing up for me, this Mars direct in Cancer. And it's kind of a couple of themes for Mars direct in Cancer are emotional power and release, Mars going direct in Cancer pushes us to confront and release any suppressed emotions that we've had and really break free from old emotional patterns and reclaim a sense of emotional agency, and kind of like redefine how we nurture ourselves and others. It's also another theme is kind of going from reactivity to trust. Cancer can be super protective and sensitive, so Mars going direct can stir up defensiveness or impulsive reactions. And Gate 55 here, as it's going direct, kind of reminds us that emotional freedom isn't about controlling our feelings, but about trusting life to unfold as it will. So trusting in the infinite possibilities rather than reacting to expectations that we had. Cancer, where Mars is also tied to ancestry and memories and emotional history. So Mars moving direct here signals a chance for us to break free from old emotional cycles that are beyond our lifetime. And that feels really relevant right now because I think a lot of the stories that I told myself about how life would go within a kind of confined storyline came from my immediate ancestry and the photos that I'd seen and the stories that I'd heard from my grandparents. And so, you kind of can try to replay exactly how older generations have experienced the world, but we are in a new time now. And it's, I think every generation and every people at every time believes that they're in some kind of end times. I would say that to be true, that, we always think it's the worst possible time. I've read a lot of history and a lot of novels and a lot of, just memoirs and memories. And it seems to be the case that, there's this may you live in interesting times Chinese curse that's actually fake. That's not really a Chinese curse. It's a Western, fairly recent invention that was misquoted as a Chinese curse for a speech by an Englishman. But it was with the idea that, these times are tormenting and horrible, and there's no hope. And so Confucius, or the Chinese curse, would have cursed people to live within interesting times. But I feel like I've heard that a lot in my lifetime, and we are certainly living through interesting times again. But interesting doesn't have to be bad. It's bad and good and all the things, and it is always important, no matter what times we're living in, to recognize what fear for fear's sake is, and have faith over fear. Basically, Mars going direct in Cancer can take that reflection time that we've been in with the Martian energy and stir up a certain amount of emotional intensity, because it's now plodding straight ahead into the great unknown with a sword and an axe or something. But it's up to us to choose what to do with that emotional intensity. And it really, Mars has this kind of acting from the gut kind of energy. So it encourages us to follow our intuition and act based on our personal emotional truth. And, we do align with that abundance and that expansive thinking when we lean into faith instead of fear. And the more we trust the bigger picture, the more emotional peace we can experience, even in turbulent times such as these. So I'm recording this a little bit before it gets released, so I don't know what will be the turbulence of the moment, and I don't doubt that it will be pretty major. We're heading into March, which is said by most astrologers that I know to be the most intense month of 2025, astrologically. And I think that there's I can't know at this very moment what it will be, but whatever turbulent times we are going through, faith over fear, whatever faith means to you. Doesn't have to be a religious faith by any means. It's not really for me, but it's that connection to spirit and the abundance of spirit, which is encapsulated in Pisces season. So happy Mars direct in Cancer. I'll finish up today with a little deeper of a review of the 6 human design gates of Pisces season, because I just love this storyline and kind of like thinking about what's ahead over the coming month. Basically, we start with gate 55, the gate of abundance or spirit that we're in this week. It's known as Feng in the I Ching, and it has the shadow of victimization, the gift of freedom, and the city of ecstasy. And it is a gate of faith, emotional transformation, and trust in abundance. Pisces energy is really enhancing the gate's message of letting go of control and embracing the unknown, going out into space. The gene key speaks of shifting from a victim mindset to a emotional freedom, where abundance is found in surrendering to life's flow. So that's where we begin. Next gate, which I'll be talking about next week, is the gate of harmony, or it's known as Jaren in the I Ching, or the family, the unit dwellers, people who dwell together. And the shadow here for harmony, this is gate 37, is weakness. The gift is equality, and the city is tenderness. And this next gate of Pisces season is about the power of emotional connection, family and chosen family, and having balanced relationships. In Pisces season, it aligns with this need for unity and collaboration and cohesion and compassion, and the harmony that's felt with giving and receiving within a family type unit, our closest people that are around us, however that family is defined. And in the gene keys, it evolves from dependency and imbalance into mutual respect, and ultimately reaches tenderness, which is the realization that true strength comes from love and softness and giving. This balance between giving and receiving also feels very Pisces. So we go up into space, we're floating in space, and then we're like, oh yeah, there's other people floating up here. How am I going to interact with them? What am I going to contribute? And how am I going to operate in a harmonious way with others that I'm merged into this amalgamation with? Then we move into gate 63, the gate of doubt. And this is known as after completion in the I Ching, has a shadow of doubt, the gift of inquiry, and the city of truth in the gene keys. And it carries the energy of questioning, curiosity, and the search for higher truth. It's very Piscean in the sense that it is a spiritual gate that really emphasizes that doubt is part of the path towards wisdom. And it moves in the gene keys from mental agitation to inquiry, where doubt fuels exploration and eventually leads to truth, which is a state that's beyond the mind's limitations. Gate 63. After that, we move to gate 22, the gate of grace, and it's known also as grace in the I Ching. The shadow in the gene keys is dishonor, the gift is graciousness, and the city is grace. Grace is a word that I don't hear too much, but I like it. And so it's very, translatable. You can tell it's in all of the different translations here. So it's really about emotional refinement and surrendering to divine timing. When I think of grace, it is about just having a certain amount of suspension of disbelief and giving credit to the larger inner workings of the world and not placing blame. And so this, again, very Piscean in the sense that it calls for compassion, forgiveness, and emotional mastery. And the shadow of it is kind of dishonor in the sense of emotional suffering that transmutes into graciousness and then into this divinity of grace where we can be the embodiment of unconditional love and kind of a spiritual elegance. So far we have gone through abundance in spirit to family harmony to doubt that leads to wisdom to this grace gate. The next one is then the gate of crisis, which is known as darkening of the light in the I Ching. The shadow is turbulence in the gene keys. The gift is humanity, and the city is compassion. And it is about, after all of these beautifully kind of like compassionate, spiritual, harmonious kind of melding of energy within Pisces, we come to this is the last full gate of Pisces season. And it kind of like awakens whatever crisis happens from like all of that merging, all of that empathy and compassion and family bonds and giving grace to people. Then you hit this moment of like, oh, there's a little turbulence, and it is worked in there because it's kind of like showing us that we can transform through hardship and that we might hit turbulence along the way when trying to form this intense of intimate bonds with others and with the world at large. And so it moves from a kind of chaos and suffering where we can see like Pisces is a very spiritual gate in the sense it's like the age of Pisces was the age of the gurus, of Jesus, of all of these people who have like found that type of enlightenment. But there's a certain recognition when you are seeing it all and seeing how it all interconnects of the nature of human suffering and the chaos of the world. And so that's a shadow level of crisis, but then it moves at the gift level to a deep empathy for humanity. And that's not me or you or him or her, but it's for all of humanity. And the city is compassion. So it is this elevated, compassionate nature that is looking at pain or suffering as a doorway to love, to deep, deep love. And then the final gate of Pisces season that is the cusp between Pisces and Aries. It ends Pisces season and begins Aries is gate 25. And this is known as the spirit of the self or innocence. And it's known as innocence in the I Ching. In the gene keys, it has the shadow of constriction, the gift of acceptance, and the city of universal love. So as we shift gears from the universalizing nature of Pisces, this deep primordial soup nature, to like the rich soil nature of like just all of this beautiful interconnection, and we enter the new year, the astrological new year, and the time when we see plants sprouting out of this dark soil, and we see little shoots coming up into the air and experiencing the outer world beyond outside of the underground for the first time. There's a certain innocence there, right? It is this embodiment of pure love, trust, and surrender to the universe and to the divine. And so as Pisces transitions into Aries, this gate teaches fearlessness and the power of an open heart, the power that it takes to crack open that seed and sprout out into the air, not knowing what awaits you on the other side. It is we are born out of the womb into the world. And so it goes from emotional constriction as the shadow, which is kind of like the birth canal, right? You're being pushed through at this time. Similarly to the gate before it, which is the gate of crisis, where there is like this certain darkening of the light before you enter the light, right? You have to go through the birth canal. The only way out is through. So once that happens, it's this full acceptance and trust, like, wow, here I am. I'm in this new reality. And then the city here is universal love, which is a state of pure connection with life itself. So that is the journey of Pisces season. I think it's just cool to think about so many metaphors that live within there, but they all fit so perfectly within the fishes and the last sign of the zodiac before we begin the new year. Just that place where you reach this like deep awareness that everything is everything is everything is everything, and that there are no boundaries. And then we put on our boundaries and we like pop up for a whole new journey around the wheel. So yeah, each of these gates that I just mentioned reflects the overarching Pisces themes of faith and intuition, surrender, and deep emotional interconnected wisdom. It's the trust of gate 55, the connection of gate 37, the inquiry of gate 63, the grace of gate 22, the emotional depth of gate 36, and then the universal love of gate 25. Pisces season has all of these, and will be guiding us toward letting go of individualized control and embracing the infinite flow of existence. And, you know, it's spiritual. What can I say? It starts with spirit, and it ends with universal love. And for me, that is what spirituality is. It is like the belief in love at its pure essence. So I give you that as the final phrase of the week. Love goes a long way. Letting your heart lead goes a long way, and dissolving arbitrary boundaries between you and others also goes a long way. We are all on this planet together, and there's a lot that needs love right now. The earth herself needs a lot of love, and all of the beings on it as well. So happy Pisces season. I am so glad you're here. This is the beginning of the final month of the first year of Cycles of Time podcast, where I have just had such a pleasure leaning into each of these energies as they make their way around the wheel, and seeing how different peoples and different cultures throughout history have really felt into this groundedness of the Earth's changes and our revolutionary journey around the sun, as I've said before. So thanks for being here. As always, I am on Instagram at Astrosomatics and Cycles of Time podcast, on Blue Sky at Allison Dale and Cycles of Time podcast, and I think that's it for now. Oh yeah, Substack. If you're listening elsewhere, you can get this Substack in your inbox every Monday. And I'm going to be changing it up next at the beginning of the astrological new year on spring equinox, where each of the sections, each of the transits and major happenings will have their own content, their own video, most likely. So that'll be searchable and rewatchable and kind of evergreen universal content about that gate or that zodiac sign or that transit or whatever it is. So, and then I'll be compiling them together into a bit of a digest with a very short audio recording that's kind of like the theme of the week. And so I'm excited about this change, and I hope you join me for it and share this missive with anybody that might resonate with it, with looking at these synergies and synthesis between all of these beautiful systems of understanding the cycles of time. If you'd like to put the transits directly onto your Google Calendar, and you use Google Calendar as much as I do, I have a Cycles of Time Google Calendar available as a digital download on my Etsy store, and I've spent quite a bit of time putting that together. So it's really helpful for me to kind of see, there's my daughter's birthday, and it's in that gate of the, X, and it's happening on the new moon and blah blah blah, and it's just really nice to be able to align my life dates, plans with these cycles, because it gives just all that extra insight. And so there are descriptions, pretty detailed descriptions for each one of the transits and gates that are on there. So check it out. It's in the show notes. And I hope you find it useful and helpful. And I think that's it. Have a beautiful start to your Pisces season, end of Aquarius season. Bring that passion into space with you, the passion of Aquarius into the beautiful abundance of Pisces. And I will talk to you again next Monday. Bye.